Hi guys, Jamie here. So today I just wanted to touch on adrenal fatigue, and I just want to give you some tips on how to heal your adrenal fatigue, and the same tips would apply to preventing adrenal fatigue from happening. And I've mentioned before that about 8 years ago I had adrenal fatigue, and it was an absolutely horrible time of life, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I was sleeping out of nowhere, went from sleeping every night 8 hours to bam, one night I just stopped sleeping, went 7 days without any sleep, and the next 3 months I slept like 1 to 3 hours. So it was a really stressful time in my life, and very, very hard on the adrenals. Not sleeping will destroy your adrenals over time if it happens long enough, because your body has to rely on adrenaline to kind of keep you energized and awake and have like cognitive function. And during that time I was cranking the caffeine, cranking the chocolate, just to get myself through it, because I was so energy and sleep deprived. And I was also eating a lot of high fat foods, things like Greek yogurt, eggs, salmon, beef, like ribeyes, strip loin, chicken thighs. Like that's what dominated my diet. And then I would also make healthier treats at night, with chocolate. I was obsessed, and I would put chocolate mixed with peanut butter, and that's a bad combination. I didn't know that at the time, but that's fat and sugar together, which is terrible for your insulin. It creates insulin resistance, mood issues, sleep issues, energy issues. And yeah, so when I had adrenal fatigue, I had sleep issues, energy issues, big time, mood issues. My monthly cycle was terrible. I had a lot of bloating, painful bloating after eating a lot of foods, and those were like my main symptoms. And yeah, it was just a horrible time of life. And then, one day I came across a few books that were high carb, low fat, as well as Durian Rider on YouTube, and they all kind of had the same message, that we run on carbohydrates, aka sugar. I know people hate that word, but that's what carbohydrates are. They are sugar. And I decided to follow that advice, and it really literally changed my life. And my symptoms just completely did a 180, except for the sleep. The sleep took a little bit longer, because sleep is complicated and there can be a variety of reasons why we're not sleeping. That one took a little bit longer, but yeah, it just improved everything drastically. I shed the water weight that I had on, like no more bloating. I definitely leaned out. I had way more energy, better mood, better fitness, and my monthly cycle had just greatly improved, and I wasn't suffering through it anymore, because they tell us that as women we just have to suffer through it, and that's all bullshit. We're not meant to suffer. Okay, we're not meant to suffer that way. And so yeah, so it was a terrible experience, but my tips, so what I learned was that what the body really wanted that whole time was carbohydrates, because when you're not getting your carbohydrates, the body wants like sugar coming in all the time. That's what we run on, and it wants it every few hours, whether we like it or not. And if you're not getting that, and you're cranking fats and caffeine, and you're restricting carbs, your body will rely on adrenaline, okay? And you start to do that every day, your adrenals will wear out over time. And if it hasn't happened yet, you might just be lucky. But I'm pretty sure a lot of these symptoms will manifest in your 40s, and especially for women, because women, we have a monthly cycle, reproductive cycle, to contend with that takes a lot of our energy. A lot of the fuel that we eat goes towards that cycle every month, and our immune system gets weakened because that energy and fuel isn't going towards our immune system anymore. It's going to our reproductive cycle, and we actually need more sugar and more carbohydrates than men. And we actually like for that reason, men, they're bigger, maybe way more, and they need more carbohydrates in that regard, or if they're like out cycling every day. But just for our reproductive system alone, we require more carbohydrates, just even for that. And so yeah, so we run on carbohydrates. That's what every cell in the body runs on. That's what our cells want, our brain wants, our reproductive system wants, our organs want. And once you start feeding it with the right things and keeping it high carb, low fat, you will see miraculously that a lot of these symptoms start to just fall by the wayside. because it's not complicated, guys. We just need to know what we run on, and and just be honest about it. Okay, we run on sugar, and once you realize that, your life's going to be so much better. You got to keep the fat low, and I recommend the best sources, from number one to least, in my opinion, is fruit. Women, especially with our reproductive cycle, you really want to eat a lot of fruit. Okay, raw honey, maple syrup, cane sugar, potatoes, sweet potatoes, squash, pumpkin, veggies, greens, herbs, rice, rice noodles, rice pasta. These are all high carbohydrate foods, low fat foods. And if you want to have fat, keep it, minimal, and keep it for the end of the day, and don't have it with your carbohydrates, because that will create insulin resistance. Blood sugar issues could lead to diabetes, pre-diabetes and diabetes. And when your blood levels, like fat levels, are high, there's actually reduced oxygen. There's reduced oxygen in the blood, which actually puts you at risk for a heart attack and a stroke when you eat high fat. So that's another reason why you want to keep the fats low, and you want to keep them like separate from your carbohydrates. Okay, so the same thing that's going to heal your adrenal fatigue is the very thing that's going to prevent it from happening. And also, I want to point out, especially women, whether you're hungry or not, we should really be eating every 2.5 to 3 hours, so your body doesn't ever have to rely on adrenaline. Okay, because if you don't have glycogen stores, which if you eat high carb, low fat continuously, you will develop glycogen stores. But for most people, they don't have glycogen stores, and the body wants the sugar every few hours. And if you don't get it, the body's going to release adrenaline, and you don't want to be relying on adrenaline day in and day out. Okay, so we want to, and same with caffeine, that releases adrenaline. It's so hard on our adrenals, and it's a toxin, it's a poison, it's not good for you. It ages you way faster, and I know a lot of women out there care about that. So yeah, so you want to keep it high carb, low fat, guys, okay, from all the sources I just mentioned. And like I said, and also too, you want to prioritize sleep. Try to keep your stress low. We all have stress in life, but go for a walk in nature, meditate, do some stretching. Don't be on social media all day. We know intuitively what's going to calm our nervous system. And I also wanted to point out too that people who suffer from PTSD, from maybe childhood trauma or whatever it was that happened to you in life, PTSD kind of puts you in this fight or flight state already, and you can have triggers, in your environment and day to day, and that will release adrenaline. So if you're a person who suffers from PTSD, it's actually important. We have to take even more care of our adrenals and eat high carb, low fat. It's even more important. So yeah, guys, you want to keep the calories high. Don't be afraid of carbs, and you want to keep the fats low. Keep the caffeine and chocolate out of your day to day, and prioritize sleep, and try to lower your stress as best as you can. But yeah, guys, that's my message for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll be back again for another video. Thanks, guys. Bye.